I was going to say, you all have drafted a lot of players from this game, just the importance that you put on the players here and what you see here.
Well, look, this is a great game. It's a great accumulation of a lot of really great players around the country. It's close proximity to us, so we can bring over pretty much our entire staff without putting a lot of effort into that. And so we do. And we bring all of our coaches over, bring all of our scouts, obviously, and we get really good access to the players, and we get really good feedback from them. We just gain a lot of knowledge that maybe we didn't have prior going into this game. So it's a very important aspect of our process, and we try to turn over every stone possible while we're here.
How much can this week further an evaluation along in terms of maybe your initial grade on someone when you just watch them on film?
Well, I always say to the players, it's our first opportunity to get to know the player, get to know the person. We know him as a player on the tape, and then getting up close and personal with his background and getting a little bit deeper into the makeup of what we're looking for in our locker room. So it does change. It does change from certain aspects of it. We get to learn how a guy learns, how he understands football. That football knowledge and base is extremely important to us as well. So that's how grades change in some cases.
How would you evaluate just where the team's at in general right now, kind of going into the offseason, start of the job process and all that?
Well, I mean, that's really between Mickey and Dennis, but I think we're in a good position to get better. Obviously, we're not where we want to be. Obviously, we made some coaching changes, and so there's a process that goes into that as well. But I do think we have a good core group of players that we can build on. And from my standpoint, I'm always ready to induce young talent onto the football team, so I'm very excited about doing that as well.
And when you guys do eventually get the new OC, does that change anything with the evaluation process, like as far as tailoring maybe to what that person needs for their scheme?
Yeah, you already answered your question. Yeah, obviously we do. We tailor it to what he's looking for. There may be an offensive blocking run scheme that we're looking at, and that usually generates a different type of player that we're looking for, maybe a little bit more athletic versus a bulky guy in the middle. So, receivers change, tight ends change, whether we're playing with a fullback or not. So, yeah, it can definitely change a little bit of the landscape of what kind of player we're looking for, because we want it to be we want that player to schematically fit what we're doing on offense. So, absolutely, just like we do on defense.
Not having that in place right now, does that alter the way you go about, or is it just?
Not necessarily. We're not right there yet in our process. Right now, we're still in a really, a gathering information mode. We are trimming the fat from in some cases, but we're ready to strike whether we understand what the kind of players that they are, and so when a player doesn't fit, well, he just kind of goes into a different box of maybe not fitting exactly what the offensive coordinator is looking for, and so maybe this player does, and so that's kind of how we go about it.
Jim, how do you look at your offensive line with some of the young recent investments, both Trevor and Nick sound very good, sort of unknown commodities? Does that feel like a position where it's really important to add another body in the draft?
Well, I think you should add young offensive linemen pretty much every year. So, with Trevor and Nick in particular, I think they're really young, developing, high upside players that we're looking forward to, but right now we wish we had a little bit more information on both of them. We wish you could say, hey, these guys, we can plug them in and start. Well, I don't know we can say that right now. What we do feel about both those players is that they should compete to start and give us really good depth if they don't get there, but we feel like they should be able to compete to start.
And what is your evaluation of how it could still work out for Trevor even after 2 years of having him?
Well, he's had one off season. He's from a small school. We feel really good about Trevor. There's some things that he obviously needs to work at, and he knows what those things are. I do feel like there's too good of an athlete, too strong of a player, too many things that he does well that he shouldn't end up developing into a good player. Now, whether that's inside or outside, right or left, those are all going to be determined by his coach. And but I think we've got a good plan and making sure we get the upside out of it.
Do you see him as a player that could potentially shift inside in some form?
It's really not my decision, but yeah, I do think he could.
I know last year we asked you about Tulane guys. You spoke highly of Tajay Spears. He ended up moving up. I think you told us last year you like mobile quarterbacks, but just what have you seen from Michael Pratt? Did you have a chance to see him play this year? I know it's only been one practice here, but just kind of a brief evaluation if you could.
Yeah, Michael's really smart, very accurate. I would pretty much call him more of a pocket passer than a dual threat guy, but he does have legs to move around and improvise and do some nice things. We have a nice grade on him. He's a great kid. Willie, before he left to go to Houston, we had him over the office, and we got a really good evaluation of him. So looking forward for him to compete against these other quarterbacks here in this game and see how he bounces out with that group.
And I had kind of a philosophical question, just kind of the evaluation process for you. Are there things that you say I will never change and kind of just like resolute on versus things that I remember like Deion Jones showed up here and weighed like 210 pounds and it just seemed like so light for a linebacker, whereas things kind of change in the league. Where do you go on kind of like where you stand in your evaluation process?
Well, you never say never. I mean, and I've been in this league for almost 30 years. You're constantly evolving to what the college game is giving you and how the NFL game is being played. And you bring up Deion Jones, and so there was a time where I wanted 235-pound linebackers, and now, most of the linebackers are playing in the 220s because everybody's getting spread out, and so you have to be, and you're looking for cover linebackers, and so you have to evolve. There's some things that I don't go too far from what I've learned. There's a lot of Parcellian things that I've learned that I'm not going to veer too far off of, makeup, intelligence, and things like that. But sizes of players are changing, skill sets are changing, and so you have to evolve to make sure you're getting the best athletes on the field.
Has the profile of edge rushers changed at all over the years? Is it more speed now than maybe it used to be? Or?
Well, I think we're just open to different body types of rushing the passer. There used to be all these 6'4", 34-inch arm, 270-pound, defensive ends, and now guys are getting to the quarterback, and they're a little bit smaller, a little bit faster. I still think you have to play with power, but they come in all shapes and sizes, and you have to be ready to have a really clear vision for how are you going to utilize that player. But they've really all come in all kinds of shapes and sizes. But I think you just have to be open to adding that player, but have a real clear vision how you're going to use them.
And some of the recent picks, obviously, injuries have made it difficult to kind of get an idea of what you really have into Peyton Turner and Foskey, even Marcus back before he left. How do you kind of marry that with the ideas like, okay, we think we scouted the right guy, but we just never have gotten the chance to see that on the field?
That's a tough answer. That's a tough question. I really don't know the answer to that. I mean, we have enough information on Marcus. We certainly have enough information on Peyton to feel good about the athlete, but you just don't know about the durability and the availability. That's the unknown in this sport, and some injuries are part of the sport. You can't predict them. Whatever injury he had in college is a different injury that he's had in the pros, and you can't predict those things. I wish we could. We do a lot of evaluation and analytical study on injuries and things like that, and there's no predictor of it. It's unfortunate.
Does that factor into the evaluation of guys that size now? Is a 300-pound edge rusher more prone to injury than a 250-pound edge rusher?
I don't believe that would be the case, but we do study that. Yeah, we do study that.
How do you feel about last year's draft? Do you think it's very good?
I do like last year's draft. I mean, you wish we had a little bit more information on some of the guys that we drafted. I mean, Nick Saldivari. We got a really good evaluation of Jordan Howden. We got a really good evaluation of Reese. Wish we would have gotten a little bit more out of Foskey, and you'd love to see the young quarterback play. And, Kendra splashed, there in the last game, and we feel really good about him. Our postseason evaluations that we had with our coaching staff, man, there's some really glowing remarks on really all of the guys that we drafted. We feel really good about them. From my perspective, going into another draft, you just wish you had a little bit more information to say he is this, or he is that. And there's still a little bit of information still left out there that's a little bit unknown. And we just continue to develop those guys, but we feel really good about all of them.
I know it's early, but does anything jump out
in terms of this class, this group, in terms of position of strength, and just in terms of this group, or is it too early to process to say?
Well, look, I don't like to get into strength and weaknesses of draft, but this is a really strong class, I think. Since there hasn't been 120 juniors coming out in every single draft. You really kind of start honing in on, guys a lot sooner, and I think that's what we've got here. I think there's some really strong positional players. There's some really strong offensive players. There's a good group of quarterbacks. So I mean, like I'm not going to get into strength and weaknesses, but it's a really strong draft, I think.
How hard is it to have a 2017 draft again? I mean, that was like the gold standard. How hard is it to put something like that together?
Well, it's very difficult. I mean, you obviously strive to do that every single year. We had a top 11 pick. We had 2 picks in the first round. We ended up having 3 picks in the third round. So, you got to have some ammunition, and you got to be well equipped with the resources to have a 2017 draft. We've haven't had that quite a resources at the top of the draft or in the front end of the draft in terms of the first 3 rounds, and since 2017. So. If we're armed with that, you got a better chance for sure.
Every year you've gone through the process. You just went through the process again. I mean, obviously you're here, and Mickey and the organization obviously speak glowingly about you. But just going through that process, how was that again this year for you?
Which process you talking about?
For the Chargers general manager position.
Oh yeah, it's a great process. It's energizing. It's exciting. Felt like I had a great interview with those guys. I really appreciate the Spanos family for interviewing me. And but look, there's only 32 of them, or probably less than that when you got ownership involved. But it was energizing. It was fun to prepare for. It's fun to really dive into a team as much as you do when you prepare for those jobs that I normally probably wouldn't do if I'm not interviewing for a job. So it was a lot of fun.
How does Cody leaving affect just kind of what you guys do?
Look, I mean, I'm not throwing up the white towel or anything. I mean, goodness gracious, Cody's a talented young scout. He's been with me since the Miami days. I'm really excited for him to start a new journey for the Denver Broncos. But we're gonna be just fine. We got a lot of great scouts and a lot of young guys that are elevating up, and I look forward to teaching another young guy, and but we're gonna be just fine.
Just back to the ammunition. 2 more. The ammunition you're talking about earlier. Just how do you feel about kind of where you guys are at now, and then you guys are maybe projected for some comp picks in the middle?
Yeah, I think we're going to have some comp picks. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to be yet, but I mean, we do have some ammunition. So I mean, I'm excited about putting the board together where we can get some really good players.
I was just going to follow up about that. Pete left to go join Sean.
Yeah.
Just thoughts on him partnering up with Sean again. I know you're obviously close with both of them.
Yeah, look, Pete's an unbelievable person, an unbelievable coach. We're going to miss him. He's been a lot to me just in terms of how we see things eye to eye. He had a real clear vision for what he was looking for, and I wish him well. I'm not surprised that Sean brought him over, and that tandem was obviously good for a long time. So wish him the best, obviously. All right, guys.
Sorry, just one more. How do you kind of see maybe not going to give certain evaluations, but like the quarterback class after the top 3, like guys like Bo Nix, Michael Penix, the guys who were here at the Senior Bowl, and how that might improve their stock?
Oh, I think it's a great opportunity for those guys to get in with the teams. Really get to understand who they are. Look, they're broadened their aspect. You get the first couple of draft or quarterbacks that can go off early, and these guys, may or may not. But there's 32 teams here evaluating them, and I think it certainly broadens everybody's scope to what kind of person they are and what kind of player they are. And we always want guys to compete in this game, and they are, and we appreciate that.